What's going on, guys, and welcome to another video. Now, the very first video of this channel is my first impression of the HKC M27G3F monitor, but that really isn't a review video, and so I think it's time to revamp that video. Today we're going to do an actual review. We're going to take a look at its features, its pros and cons, and should you even buy it. Now let's get into it. HKC was a brand that was established back in 1997. It grew quickly into a top 3 producer of monitors in the Chinese market and is now one of the leading monitor brands in the Philippines gaming industry. It's not really a surprise since most of us here in the Philippines tend to look at the budget side of things.
Now, before anything else, here's what's included in the box. So I've already unboxed this in my first video actually, but I'm gonna just show you guys what's included in this video as well. First off, we have the stand. So it's a pretty basic stand. It's made out of plastic. And then we have the base. Here's a good look at the bottom of the stand. So if you will look at it real good, it's not really a perfect flat stand, but really the only things that are trying to make it flat are these rubber paddings right here. So if you lose one of them, you might lose like the feel of having it like in a straight surface, so you want to keep that in mind. But for me, with my experience so far, I've been using this for a couple of months now. I'm not sure how many months, but yeah, good, more than 6 months I think. And so far I really haven't had any issues in terms of the monitor not being able to stay flat on a flat surface. And then we have the display port. So it's really good that it comes with its own display port. It doesn't have an HDMI or VGA cable. It really only includes a display port. But again, if you're using this monitor, then I guess you're after the 144 Hz. And for you to be able to take advantage of the 144 Hz, you really need a display port. Then we have the power adapter. And then we have the actual panel. I'm not sure if you guys can see it that much. Really, let me just assemble it. I'm just being stupid. Don't do this. Don't be stupid. So assembling the stand is really as easy as just putting these two together. Like that. And then if you want to disassemble them, I don't know if you guys can see it, but you can pinch on these two, I don't know, are those prongs? I don't know. But you can pinch on them and then you can pull the stand without any problems. Let's get the panel. Attaching the base and the stand to the actual monitor is also as easy as sliding this onto the monitor, like that. Also, I want to show you guys how wobbly you can get whenever you actually bump your desk or whatever. So, oops, 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 oops. I bumped the friggin' desk. Given the size, it can be a bit, well, not a bit, it can be a lot wobbly, but who the heck would use their monitor like that? Who would behave like that on their workstation or their gaming station? Maybe if you rage like that, but is raging still a thing in 2020? Find out in another video. This is the 27-inch HKC, by the way. So I'm not sure if the 24-inch will also be this wobbly. I do want to mention another thing though. I'm not quite sure if you can see it, but see that there's a bit of a gap from the actual screen and the cover, if you would call this the cover. But during actual use, you can barely notice that, and I don't even know if that is a con or anything. Is that even a disadvantage? I'm not really sure, because to be honest, for the duration that I've used this monitor, I haven't really noticed that so far, and I haven't had any issues with it. If that will be a deal breaker for any one of you, then yeah, this is what it looks like.
Moving on to the specs, it is a VA panel with 144 Hz refresh rate, 1080p resolution, and 4 millisecond response time. It doesn't have any speakers, but it includes a headphone jack. As for the ports, it has an HDMI, a display port, and a DVI port. For the movements, you can tilt it up and down, but unfortunately, there's no height adjustment or swivel. Luckily, it's VESA mount compatible, so you can take advantage of that. It also has an NTSC rating of 72%, so you could take note of that if you're going to be using it for professional use like photo editing or video editing. For our fellow gamers, this is specifically a FreeSync monitor, but the website also claims that it is G-Sync compatible as well. I did encounter some issues with using the FreeSync, specifically with games like Warzone, Apex Legends, where the brightness of the monitor flickers whenever I turn it on, but turning it off immediately fixes the issue. I tried to look up the issue, and some people are encountering it even on some other monitors that they have. So I'm not really sure what was causing the problem, but I was able to grab myself a 1660 Super, and upon switching video cards, I was no longer experiencing that issue. I do want to mention another issue that I was experiencing with this monitor when paired with my RX 580. It's that I was having this issue when switching to full screen while I'm watching YouTube. Fortunately, it doesn't happen anymore. Maybe it was just an issue with the cable, maybe it was loose or something. I didn't spot any dead pixels, and I'm gonna show you a couple of tests so you guys can see it as well. For backlight bleeding, I really think images and videos aren't really that reliable in terms of showing it to you guys. But to be honest, I really think this only becomes an issue when it's easily detected by the human eye. Still, I went ahead and did a backlight bleed test for you guys. From my perspective though, these are the only parts of the monitor that has noticeable backlight bleed, but really not enough to be an issue. As I attempt to show you guys the viewing angles of this monitor, here's a 4K clip of Costa Rica, and I hope you enjoy it. As for the OSD button, it's very easy to access, and navigating through the menu is also easy as well. You can switch between the current menu and the previous menu by pressing up and down. That'll be a lot faster than just using the center button. You can also switch modes and color temperature. I actually prefer cool, but you can customize it to your liking. You can access the overdrive, the FreeSync, and the volume if you're plugging your headset directly to the monitor by going to the Others tab. At the back of the monitor, there are a couple of holes that serves as the ventilation. It doesn't really get hot even after using it for like 8 to 12 hours a day. It does get a bit warm, but I can barely feel it when I touch it. Now let's move on to what I think are the pros and the cons. So it really is 144Hz. The price is good if your budget can't really hit that 13 to 15,000 peso price point. The OSD button is a joystick that's really easy to access. It has a user interface that doesn't look like from 2005. It has an audio jack if you need it. It's VESA mount compatible, and it's G-Sync and FreeSync compatible. Now for the cons, if you look at it closely, the pixels can be a bit noticeable. I think that's because of the fact that this is a 27-inch panel and the resolution is only 1080p. For me though, it only gets noticeable if you're this close to the monitor, which I doubt you're gonna be gaming or working like this. Another con is the plastic stand. It's the main reason why the monitor is wobbly when you accidentally bump it, but if you could live with that, then it's not gonna be a problem. Also, the base is relying on rubber padding to stay flat on the surface, so if you lose either one of those, then it can get uneven and may affect your experience. Also, from my experience, if you're not planning on getting a desk that will allow you to have a good distance between you and your monitor, then the 24-inch might be for you. Because upon using it for a certain amount of time, especially when playing first-person shooter games, I got a bit dizzy. But then again, I guess that also applies to other 27-inch monitor as well, and it's really depending on your preference. If you also have this monitor, feel free to add some more pros and cons that you think I wasn't able to mention in the comments below. So, with all of those being said, should you get this monitor? If you don't mind a couple of compromises like the cons I mentioned, then pretty much yes. You're getting a 144Hz VA panel at a decent price point. It doesn't have terrible viewing angles. It's actually pretty good if you ask me. It's G-Sync and FreeSync compatible. Sure, the pixels are noticeable when you look at it at a ridiculous distance, but surely you won't be working or gaming like that with this monitor. I also just want to add that 27 inches really isn't for me, I guess. I honestly would prefer the 24-inch version if I can have this replaced. And if you do go with the 24-inch version, you're going to be able to use that extra 1,700 I think that you're going to be able to save to either maybe buy yourself a bootable hard drive, an SSD if you're building a new computer, or add it to your GPU budget, or pretty much use it whatever you like. That wraps up this video. I hope you guys found it helpful. If you did, feel free to drop a like. Consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you guys on the next video.